Hey everybody, sorry I'm not going to be here today. Occasionally I'll be out. Today I'm going to be out because I got to get the stitches taken out of my knee from my surgery. But when I'm going to be out and we're sort of either learning something sort of new or we want to review something, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll record a little screencast video, throw it up on the website so hopefully you can follow along, and that'll compensate for the fact that most subs don't know too much about computer programming. Fortunately, it's on the skinny 8 day, so the period isn't going to be that long. I'm hoping that most of you can get a good start, make some progress on that first assignment. So I know a few of you, most of you got through that first problem. Hopefully you get through the next. But what I'm going to do is review the stuff that we talked about, including creating a project, and then just some of those commands so you have somebody to ask if I'm not there. So first order of business is click on create a new project. We're going to pick console application. We're going to make sure it says C++, and I'm going to give it a title. Video demo 1 is what we're going to do. I'm going to save it to my desktop. If you don't have a folder that kind of populates automatically here, if you click on these little dots and then go to computer or my computer, depending on what versions of Windows you have, you'll click on that and you should see your Y drive pop up. So you want to save it to your Y drive. That'll be the best spot. So I click on next, and then I get this weird page. Just hit finish. These are some special settings that we never really have to tinker with. You should end up with a screen like this, and if you look over here at the left hand side, you'll see a little folder that says sources. If you click on the plus sign here, you will open up into your very own Hello World program, just like we did. So just kind of to quickly review, all of our program sort of has to go, see where this little minus plus sign that sort of hides and opens things is? All of our code's going to go in here. So I'm going to hit enter a few times to get some space in there. If you guys remember, the cout command prints something to the screen. We put the little arrows here and whatever we want to print out in quotes. And then we end the line to sort of act as like we hit a return. There's a couple of different ways to get that effect. If I wanted to, I could say, mighty fine to see you. And right now it's all going to print on one line, but suppose that I actually want to print it on 2 lines without using 2 cout statements. I can use these things called escape characters. So I put in a little /n. Notice how I didn't put a space in between that n and the to. That's because what this is going to do is it's going to cause it to break the line and then print immediately what after. So it's going to say, mighty fine to see you. So if I want to run it, I can save it. I can either hit Control S on my keyboard or hit this little save button. And then if I go up here to my toolbar, you'll see this gear and this button that says build and run. So I'll run that. And it says, hello world, mighty fine to see you. So that's very cool. It automatically popped it on the next line. If I put a little /t in there, I can actually get it to do a tab, so I can space things out. And some of you guys that are, like to make things look nice and be very orderly and those kind of things, will enjoy those because you can really format stuff to make it look nice. So next thing we did, if you guys remember, is we talked about making variables, and the easiest variable we can make is an integer. I'm just going to call it number, and the basic command is this. It has a type and it has a name, and we can give it whatever name we want, and then if we want to, we can assign it a value directly, like 10. Okay, then we would put a maybe put a little cheeky remark in here. It says mighty fine to see you number, and I will leave a little space there, put in my arrows, and then print number. Okay, and then I'll have it go to the next line. So if I run that real quick, it says mighty fine to see you number 10, and great, that's the number that we saved. But sometimes I might want to print out, please enter another number to greet. And I will pair this with this thing that we call the cin statement, which will let us store whatever the user types in into this this box, this variable. So now we're going to ask for a number, and then I'm just going to actually just copy and paste. So I'm just going to copy with Control C and then hit Control V, and we'll just have it print out again. So if I run this, we should end up with, "Hello world, mighty fine to see you, number 10. I will ask to greet 17. Mighty fine to see you, number 17. And there we go. Now we have a little bit of interactivity. Sometimes we want numbers that aren't just whole numbers like integers. So we'll use a double, which means to use something with a decimal point. And I might call this one other number. And maybe it starts out as 12.22745. Very significant number or something. But anyway, something that you might notice about this is great. This lets us keep decimal points. If you try to save decimal points into a type integer, it just throws them away. So it'll just cut it off. It doesn't round or anything. It just chops them right off. Right here, we have, we can have whatever we want to be our variable names. It's actually a really nice thing. We want to make sure they make sense, and more important, we might make sure that other people can understand them very well. So, number makes a lot of sense. Other number makes some sense about what that is. If we were doing something like a physics problem, I might have something be mass and another thing be velocity, rather than just using letters like X and Y or M and V. We can make our programs more clear. Sometimes we'll use more than one word. We can't have spaces, otherwise the compiler gets mad at us because spaces indicate different commands. So if we want something to be multiple words, we got to write it as kind of a run-on sentence. I like to do it this way, which is called Camel Case, where I take the first word and I just type it in lowercase, and then the next letter of the next word I capitalize so I can tell, hey, this is a little break here, so I can say other number, and if I was going to say, is cool, right, it makes it a lot easier to read that sentence than if everything is lowercase. I have to break apart each word. Some people like to do that. That's called Camel Case. Other people like to use underscores like this. So we can put underscores in between all the words. Some people will argue one way is better than the other. I think really you should do whatever makes you happy and makes the most sense to you. The only reason I don't do it this way, typically, the reason I use this Camel Case is I can type it a lot faster because the little underscore is a harder one for me to hit for some reason. So, but these are all pretty good. We talked a little bit about doing arithmetic of kinds, so I could make a variable called answer, and I could say, hey, that's number times number, right? And I've done a calculation. We have two values, we multiply them together and stored them to the thing on the left. Okay, that's a really important thing to notice, that we use a single equal sign. All of our kind of mathy stuff has to be on the right. We can only have one thing on the left. One thing on the left. There you go. We have multiplication. This is division. We have subtraction, and we have addition. Just kind of like you'd expect. We don't quite have an exponent yet, so do repeated multiplication to get around that problem, and we'll talk about the exponent issue in a couple of days. So hopefully that will be really helpful to you. That should be more than enough to get you on a good start for the first problem. There's one last thing I want to tell you, which is a way to write notes to yourself. Sometimes you're working on a problem, especially on a short day, like Monday is going to be, and maybe you said, hey, this is my, I started on problem number 1. Notice how this turned kind of grayish, and I used this double slash in front of it. This is called a comment. And what that does is if I put 2 slashes in front of themselves, this makes it so this line doesn't actually get read by the compiler. So I can leave whatever notes I want there to help me out. So I might remind myself of, you know, a formula for, you know, that I'm going to program, or, you know, what my next task is. I need to find the area of a circle. Okay, so you can write yourself some nice little notes here. I really encourage you to be get used to using these. They'll really make your life a lot easier, and they're really good coding practice. But I'll harass you about that another day. So, okay, guys, have a great day today. Sorry I can't be there, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Cheers.